Hello, just a quick update on what I've been working on with my RPG systems. One thing you might notice, and I think I brought this up before, but we are in a scene. It is called Scene Loader. There is really nothing in it. You have the player character. And I actually put some weather in here. Which, no, I did not actually make that weather, but it's here. It's useful. And I have a game manager. And the game manager tells what scene or what world space I'm going to load, and that world space contains scenes. So let's hit play and see what happens. And we have to wait a minute while it does its thing, and here we are in our scene, our test arena. Been here before. Everything at first looks about the same. I can pick these things up, open the chests, get some swords out, maybe put in a potion, grab a wand, grab some more potions, maybe drop in a sword. So yeah, at first that looks the same. But there has been an important change. I can drop these. I can throw these. All things you've seen before. And I can go to the island. Which is probably not really going to be this exact version of it, the final game, but it is the terrains I plan to use. And I still do not have a actual loading screen. Those are pretty easy, pretty trivial to make. So I'll do that when I need to. I can throw this. I can drop or throw these. Drop that. And I can drop and throw all these things. Okay, pretty obvious. Pretty simple, right? Well, here's what you're going to see. I'm going to go back to the test arena. And we're going to go back to the other world. Because what I've been working on is persistence of items and their data between scenes. Each of these world spaces has its own scene. A really big world, I do that later on, could actually be divided into different scenes that are streamed. Right now they're each their own scene. Better slow down, I'm about out of stamina. But I can go up here to my castle. And I put a way back home to the test arena in here. I've also changed this texture. I might redo this one too to make it match that a little better, but I think this is better than the other one I had. So we're back here. And what you'll notice, this is here. These are there. Everything's the way it was when you left it. Now, if you've never really thought a whole lot about how games work or are made, that might seem obvious. That's what you expect, and I mean, that's how it works in real life. But with games, when you make a scene, whenever you reload the scene, basically you're getting whatever the designers, developers put in when they made the scene. So all this stuff would be back where it was. Anything I dropped that came out of a chest would be back in the chest. Anything I dropped in the other world would just be duplicated. That doesn't happen anymore. So that's what I've done. Now the doors, they don't stay open if I open them. That will be later. That shouldn't be too hard. Actually, I suspect these items, because in many ways they're more complicated than most things. They have multiple forms after all. They have a inventory form, and they have a world form, and they have an equipped form. Even NPCs, though technically they're more complicated in most ways than items, don't have the multiple forms you have to deal with. And these are all here. So how did I do this? Well, I'll just go over here, and you can see up here I have the code for the systems, and then I have down here test game. The island I'm using, I am going to use a version of that island, but right now this is kind of a test setup. But if I go to the test arena, in the test arena, you can go to items, and in the past all these had a script called item in world on them. They no longer do. Now, well, oh, sorry. Old version, I kept around an old version in case I screwed something up. New version, so you saw what they used to be. They had item in world. Now, if you go over here, instead of item in world, they have item placeholder. It has some of the same things. It has their prototype. It has some metadata that isn't attached necessarily to the item in the world or in the inventory, but it allows you to do things like make it a quest item, flag it as stolen, give it an owner that you could steal it from and make it stolen, give it an XP value, because I'm planning on doing something very similar to early tabletop role-playing games where loot XP comes from loot. If you don't know, a lot of like 70s and 80s D&D, your XP, 80% of it came from loot. And I know there's a sort of new old school game out now called Shadow Dark. It all comes from XP, and that's kind of how I want XP to work. Might also have some from quests, but it's not going to be from killing things. It's going to be from obtaining your objectives, whether it's fulfilling a quest or getting the loot, however you get it. Sneak and get it, kill and get it, be nice and get it, platform around and get it, whatever works. When you get your objective, that's where your XP comes from. But this item in world, when the scene loads, its data gets copied into a kind of registry or database that I have in the form of a dictionary. And that way, and then that gets used to add items under here, and this is called loose items because originally it was items you threw, but now there will be items under here that are added. And that way, all this gets stored outside the scene, so that way when you travel between scenes, you will keep your data or your items, and the game will essentially remember what belongs where, what came from where, what's still there, how things might have changed. All of that gets stored outside the scene so that you can move things around and not have things duplicated and have things be where you left them. And don't really want to save that. So that's what I've been working on. The next thing I'm do is I've made things persistent at runtime. The next thing is going to make them persistent between runs. In other words, the next step will be the save system, which is going to build heavily on what I've been doing for persistence during runtime. What are my stats? Ooh. I've got low strength. That's probably why I'm not jumping very high. But that can be built directly on top of the runtime persistence. Once I know what I'm saving about the game state at runtime, I know what I want to save on the disk when you hit save. So that's what I've done, and that's what I'm going to be working on next. I've finished the runtime persistence for these, for the objects, the items I should say. I'm going to make it work for saves, and then once I know how all that works up, I'll be able to have the basic framework for creating logic for the NPCs and data for the NPCs, because then I'll know how things are going to be saved. I'll have that worked out, and I'll be able to have their data be saved in the same way. Thank you to anyone who's watched this through. I hope you have a great day, and yeah, have a great day. Bye. I'm going back to the island. It's nicer there.